Omajana Timondasya, Sinanslasnaka, Saksun Militam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni. Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paskatjai Tasatarni Srila Prabhupada Ki. Today we will discuss chapters 17 and 18 of the 8th canto. So after Aditi has followed the process of Payavrata, the Lord appears before her. And first she will offer prayers, and then the Lord will reply. But you have a question here on the screen. The Lord pronounced that the demons were currently unconquerable. Why? So that's something you can note. I put this question also in the chat. In the next chapter, the Lord will appear as Vamandev. And there you have this whole description of the Lord's appearance. And this is a question for you on the screen. And I put that also in the chat. And we can discuss that at the end, if time allows. So we'll now start with chapter 17. The Supreme Lord agrees to become Aditi's son. So the process of bhakti is the process of acting in such a way that the Supreme Lord will be pleased with us. And if he's pleased, then by his grace, if he so desires, he reciprocates with our sincere endeavor to please him, and he bestows upon us whatever he desires, and he will reveal and show his real nature to us. So we finished chapter 16, which is about the Payavrata system of worship and within that Payavrata worship, Aditi properly performed it, but with material desires. We know that even if we have material desires and we worship the Lord, what happens? We become purified. There's no disqualification for worshiping the Lord. We heard it already in the second canto. Akama sarvakama vamoksakama udarati tevena bhaktiyorina chaita purusham pram. So now, Sukadev Goswami in the first verse is speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Shri Shuka Uvacha Ityukta Cha Tidirachan Sabhaktra Kashyape Navai Vatishat Vratam Idam Tvadasaham Atandrita. Sukadev Goswami said, Looking after Aditi was thus advised by her husband Kashyapa Muni. She strictly followed the instructions without laziness, and in this way performed the Payavrata ritualistic ceremony. So, in the purport, for advancement in anything, especially in spiritual life, one must strictly follow the bona fide instructions of the teacher. Aditi did this. She strictly followed the instructions of her husband and guru. So that is really the process to gain knowledge. That if one wants to gain anything, one needs instructions from a teacher. So as confirmed in the Vedic injunctions, Yasya Devi Para Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru. One should have complete faith in the Guru, who helps the disciple make progress in spiritual life. As soon as the disciple thinks independently, not caring for the instruction of the spiritual master, he's a failure. Yasya Pasado Nagati Kutopi. Aditi very strictly followed the instructions of her husband and spiritual master, and thus he was successful. Thus Aditi was successful. And that is what we are going to hear now about her success. Text 2 and 3. With full, undivided attention, Aditi thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in this way brought under full control her mind and senses, which resembled forceful horses. She concentrated her mind upon the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. Thus she performed a ritualistic ceremony known as Payavrata. So the fundamental principle of this Payavrata ceremony was to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that was what Kashyapa Muni gave her before giving her details. It is that what the details are based on. The details that we are following in Krishna consciousness are different from the details of the Payavrata. But the fundamental principles are exactly the same. Naturally, if one wants to please someone, if one wants to please someone through one's activities, one thinks of that person, right? Because we want to do activities in a way that this person is pleased. So that is the natural result. Bhagavad Gita 18:57. That Shetasha Sarvakarmani Maisanyasya Matpra Buddhiyogamupasritya Matshita Satatam Bhava. In all activities, just depend on me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So Krishna consciousness is a matter of consciousness. It is not a matter of externally performing the activity. It is a matter of consciousness. It means that we must become deep if we wish success. By thinking the Supreme Lord, she brought under control her mind and senses, which resembles forceful horses. So that is forceful horses, that's a very good example. We can say forceful runaway horses. The mind and senses, they are, yes, usually they are out of control. At least my mind and senses, they are out of control. And to bring them under control, it's so difficult. This is the methodology. by always thinking of Krishna and always trying to please him. Now again, Srila Prabhupada is going to speak about fundamental principles in the purport of 3.4. So it says, one should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. This is called pure devotional service. One simply has to concentrate upon the lotus feet of Vasudeva, Krishna, Sabai, Mana Krishna Padara Vindayo. Then the mind and senses will be controlled, and one can engage himself fully in the devotional service of the Lord. The devotee does not need to practice the Hatha Yoga system to control the mind and senses. His mind and senses are automatically controlled because of unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So this is the process of Bhakti Yoga. That Srila Prabhupada gives the definition, Anya Bilasta Sunyam, Jnana Karmatra, Anapitam, Anukulena, Krishna Nusilnam Bhakta Uttama. Text 4. My dear King, the original Supreme Personality of God, dressed in yellow garments and bearing a conch shell disc, club, and lotus in his hands, then appeared before Aditi. So the Lord was pleased with her devotional service, although it was full of material desires. So, text 5 and 6. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead became visible to Aditi's eyes, Aditi was so overwhelmed by transcendental bliss that she at once stood up and then fell to the ground like a rod to offer the Lord a respectful obeisances. Aditi stood silently with folded hands, unable to offer prayers to the Lord. Because of transcendental bliss, tears filled her eyes, and the hairs on her body stood on end. Because she could see the Supreme Personality of God face to face. She felt ecstasy, and her body trembled. So the ecstatic symptoms are the external manifestation of the internal awakening of our relationship with Krishna. So that is what happens when the soul is situated in factually one's relationship with Krishna. The actual result is that it's ecstasy. That is the natural consciousness of the soul, because now we have turned our back on Krishna. Krishna Buli said Jiva Anadi Bayar Mukha Ateva Mayatari Deya Samsara Dukkha. Forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted to this external feature from time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy Maya gives him all kinds of miseries in material existence. This is the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. So we need to turn again our consciousness toward Krishna with devotion, and that's the process of Krishna consciousness. This is the process that we are following. It is the process of turning towards Krishna instead of remaining opposed to him, the Supreme Lord. Turning our consciousness to Krishna. I remember that, so one devotee said to another devotee, you were not present during the Bhagavatam class in the morning. And the other devotee said, no, I was there. I was sitting at the back there. And the devotee said, no, you were not present. You were with your consciousness, you were something else. You did not hear the class. So that's interesting. We are present in the class when our consciousness is present. We are the consciousness. Otherwise, we are not present. Should always remember that symptom of the soul is consciousness. That's what we are. And we should be present with our consciousness. So we do our devotional service, but we should be present, means connected with Krishna, with our consciousness. Text 7, 8, 9, 10. Maharaj breaks it. The demigoddess Aditi began to offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a faltering voice and with great love. She appeared as though drinking through her eyes the Supreme Lord, who is a husband of the gods of fortune, the enjoyer of all sacrificial ceremonies, and the master of the entire universe. Text 8, the goddess Aditi said, O master and enjoyer of all sacrificial ceremonies, O infallible and most famous person, whose name, when chanted, spreads all good fortune. Original personality of Godhead, supreme controller, shelter of all holy places. We are the shelter of all poor, the suffering living entities. And you have appeared to diminish their suffering. Please be kind to us and spread your good fortune. My Lord, you are the all-pervading universal form, the fully independent creator, maintainer, and destroyer of this universe. Although you engage your energy in matter, you are always situated in your original form and never fall from that position. For your knowledge is infallible and always suitable to any situation. We are never bewildered by illusion. Oh, my Lord, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Text 10. O unlimited one, if your lordship is satisfied, one can verily obtain a lifetime as long as that of Lord Brahma. A body either in the upper, lower, or middle planetary systems, unlimited material opulence, religion, economic development, and satisfaction of the senses, full transcendental knowledge, and the 8 yogic perfections, what to speak of such petty achievements as conquering one's rivals. So, she is describing the Lord's power in relation to this material world. It is not very intimate, but yet it is wonderful because she is conscious of him. She has offered wonderful prayers, glorified the Supreme Lord, and she said that if one gets your favor, my Lord, one can attain wondrous things. But she considered wondrous things, it's all on a material level. That if you look at it, one can attain a long life, a body in the material world, or either in the upper or middle or lower planetary systems. She speaks about unlimited material opulence, religion, economic development, satisfaction, transcendental knowledge, and 8 yogic perfections. These are basically, they are the desire of a materialistic person. And she has approached that Supreme Lord in the full mood of that verse, Akana Sarvakana Va. she approached the Lord with those material desires. And it is wonderful. But again, it is so limited compared to what Krishna actually can give. This is an irony here. She's saying you can give these wonderful things, but it is only on a material level. What she's asking is so insignificant. She is even not directly stating what she wants, but of course, Krishna knows what she wants. He knows what all of us want, even if we hint it or we don't hint it at all, the Lord knows. He's fully aware, because we will hear that from his response. And it's very interesting. She doesn't speak her mind. Of course, we know that he knows her mind, and he will give her something so wonderful, more wonderful than what she's asking for. That will not only solve the problem that she's asking for, but it will also elevate her, because she will have the Supreme Lord as her son, which she will love, and she will be loving the Supreme Lord. But there is irony. You can award these great things, and she's asking for very little. But the extent of what he can actually award is, in one sense, it comes later. It is exactly the opposite. He is going to give her her desire, and to Indra his desire, and they are going to get a heavenly kingdom, and the Supreme Lord is going to take everything from Bali Maharaj. Superficially, who is the winner, who gains and who loses? Superficially, it is Indra and Aditi who win, but of Bali Maharaj's mood of wanting to give everything to Krishna. Krishna reciprocates by giving himself to Bali Maharaj. Although he loses everything externally, he gains the greatest jewel, or the only jewel. And what price is too much to pay for the only wealth in existence? If one can give up something temporary to gain something eternal, then what a great deal that is. Go back to the purport of 8, that 6, 8. So Srila Prabhupada, as commentators usually do, they go over each word and explain about the names of the Lord that she's calling. So therefore I will read text again and hear all the names that she's mentioning of the Lord. I read also the Sanskrit. Shyadite uvacha shakhne sajahya pusat shuta tirthapada tirtha shavana mangalana madeya apannaloka Frichino pasadma modayatya samna kritisa paravanna siddhi nanata. The goddess Aditi said, O master and enjoyer of all sacrificial ceremonies, an infallible and most famous person, whose name, when chanted, spreads all good fortune, O original personality of God, the supreme controller, shelter of all places, you are the shelter of all poor, suffering, living entities, and you have appeared to diminish their suffering. Please be kind to us and spread our good fortune. So she calls the Lord the master and enjoyer of all sacrificial ceremony. That is what the Lord is. Everything that is sacrificed is ultimately for his pleasure, and O infallible and most famous person. That is one of his names. He's infallible. He does not make mistakes. One can write a book on that. So all good fortune. Srila Prabhupada will speak on this because Krishna and his name are not different. We will hear the purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of those who observe vows, and it is he who bestows benediction upon them. He is worshipable for the devotee throughout the devotee's life, for he never breaks his promises. He says in Bhagavad Gita, Kantya Pajanya Nami Bhakti Panastya, O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. The Lord is addressed here as Asyuta, the infallible, because he takes care of his devotees. That anyone inimical to devotees is certainly vanquished by the mercy of the Lord. So one by one, Srila Prabhupada is going over the holy names of the Lord, saying something about how the name is suitable for Krishna. So the next is, the Lord is the source of the Ganges water, and therefore is addressed here as Tirthapada, indicating that all holy places are at his lotus feet, and that whatever he touches with his foot becomes a holy place. Bhagavad Gita, for example, begins with the words Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, because the Lord was present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It became a Dharmakshetra, a place of pilgrimage. Therefore, the Pandavas, who were extremely religious, were assured of victory. Any place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead displays his pastimes, such as Vrindavan or Dvarka, becomes a holy place. The chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is pleasing to the ear, and it expands good fortune to the audience who hears it chanted. Owing to the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Aditi was fully assured that the troublesome condition created for her by the demons would now be ended. So this is the purport. There is also a short purport to text 9 that in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Siddhanta Baliya Sete Nakara Alas, Ya Haite Krishna Lage Sudrita Manas. Anyone trying to become fully Krishna conscious must know the Lord's glories as far as they are possible to understand. Here Aditi hints at these glories. The universe is nothing but the external potency of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Maya tatam idam sarvam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as the sunshine and heat are all over the universe, are expansions of the sun. When one surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he surpasses the influence of the illusory energy. For the Supreme Lord, being fully wise and being situated in the heart of everyone, especially in the heart of the devotee, gives one intelligence by which one is sure never to fall in illusion. So what is Srila Prabhupada saying here? He says, he's fully wise and being situated in the heart of the devotee. He gives one intelligence by which one is sure never to fall into illusion. How can he be in the heart of everyone, and especially in the heart of a devotee? What does it mean? He's neutral in everyone's heart. Sarvaham sarvabhuteshu name tveshtinapya. So he's neutral, but is always awarding the result according to the modes of material nature as a super soul. But in a devotee's heart it's different. In Bhagavad Gita 10:10, he says that Dami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Yena Mamopayantiti, I give intelligence. He gives this Buddhi Yoga, realized knowledge. the bhakti by which we can come to him. So he's in everyone's heart, just like a judge. When the judge is sitting in the court, people come and go, he's there. According to the law, they get a judgment. They get a reward of a penalty. But when the son of the judge becomes before the judge, it may look like he's the same, but it's not going to treat him the same because the son is beloved. So he's going to have some special treatments. That's the difference. The Lord treats the devotees according to their deepest desire in their heart. That we will see this with Aditi and Bali Maharaj. But I'm going to read one sentence of this, the last sentence of this purport. And let us deeply try to understand the meaning. When one surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he surpasses the influence of the illusory energy. That for the Supreme Lord, being fully wise and being situated in the heart of everyone, especially in the heart of a devotee, gives one intelligence by which one is sure never to fall in illusion. How can one surpass the influence of the illusory energy? It is so difficult. It's by surrendering. That it said, for the Supreme Lord is fully wise. He's fully wise. He knows what is best for us. And being situated in the heart of everyone. Yes, he gives personal treatment to everyone if we surrender to him. This is an encouragement to us to give ourselves to surrender. Otherwise, we don't get this type of treatment. Because he says, especially in the heart of a devotee, it gives one intelligence which is sure never to fall into illusion. So that is the gift. One surpasses the influence of the material energy because it's inspiring from within in such a way. It gives the buddhi, it gives the bhakti, the intelligence, so that one will not fall into illusion, so that one will remain forever in his service. So this were the prayers of Aditi. She said, you can award so many wonderful things, although the things she pointed out were all on the material level. She says, I'm only asking you an insignificant thing to do. Just kick out Bali Maharaj, she said. And his asuras, just kick them out of the heavenly planets. Text 11 and 12. Sukadev Goswami said, O King Parikshit, best of the Bharata dynasty, when the lotus-eyed Lord, the supersoul of all living entities, was thus worshipped by Aditi, he replied as follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Mother of the demigods, I have already understood your long-cherished desires for the welfare of your sons, who have been deprived of all opulences and driven from their residence by their enemies. So that's what the Supreme Lord is saying here. So Srila Prabhupada, in his short purpose, he writes that the Lord knows everything. So we may express it or we may not express it. He knows. Text 13. O Devi, O Goddess, I can understand that you want to regain your sons and be together with them to worship me after defeating the enemies in battle and retrieving your abode and opulences. You want to see the wives of the demons lamenting for the death of their husbands when those demons, the enemies of your sons, are killed in battle by the demigods, of whom Indra is the chief. You want your sons to regain their lost reputation and opulence and live again on your heavenly planet as usual. O Mother of the Demigods, in my opinion, almost all the chiefs of the demons are now unconquerable, for they are being protected by Brahmins, whom the Supreme Lord always favors. Thus, the use of power against them will now not at all be a source of happiness. So, this is quite mysterious. That, yes, the Lord is giving his opinion. But the Lord's opinion carries more weight than I give my opinion. That his opinion means this is reality. That very interesting. Lord Krishna has set up a system. So this is more or less like a judge saying, there is something in place here, and one cannot just go against the law. There is a system, there is a universal management, a system, and even if you want to go against the law, unless, and even I, Lord Vishnu, will not go against the universal laws. Unless I really want to, he's saying that. And I don't really want to in this case because they have another plan to make another point. One should expect the Lord to say, yes, I will do this. I will remove them immediately, but he doesn't speak like that. That, yes, you pleased me, but what you are thinking just to remove them, that will go against the actual system of universal management. We heard before about the universal management and the manus. And I set up this system for good reasons, because I'm the Supreme Lord. And the Varnashram system, the Vedic culture system, there is a reason for that. So it should be followed. But yet I will find a way to fulfill your purpose in such a way that it is harmonious with the system. And it is interesting what he's going to do. Text 17. So, yet, because I've been satisfied by the activities of your vow, O Goddess Aditi, I must find some means to favor you, for worship for me never goes in vain, but certainly gives the desired results according to what one desires. So that's quite assuring. But it says, it may not happen according to our plan. That when we take to the spiritual path, we expect that everything is going to work in a particular way. So I'm following the process for so many years. And when we say I'm chanting, for so many years I'm doing my sadhana, and where is the result? So when I started this process, they taught me that this is going to happen and that is going to happen. So I was thinking I'll never get sick, I'll never be poor. So does that mean that it doesn't work? It doesn't necessarily mean that Krishna is involved in what we think is not working. But very often it is. Sometimes when we are doing something really, really wrong. And that is why the result is coming. Or maybe the process isn't proper, we can think, or which is more often the case, that we think like that, at least from what I've seen. So Krishna has his own way of doing things. We may want to so many things, but who is in the center of our thinking? It is still me, and it is not yet Bhakti born in our heart. Therefore, we can't be in the spiritual world yet. Not because Krishna is putting us a roadblock, it is because no one is allowed to enter unless the heart is full of love for Krishna. We need to have that visa because we are allowed in the spiritual world. So then why doesn't Krishna then not just give it to us, to me? It is not easy to understand the extent of selfishness that we need to give up in our heart. That's the problem. And to understand how dirty our heart is. It is hard for us to fathom, to understand. We take lots of things in our baggage on the airplane that we really don't need. A lot of things we carry with us. Not only are they unnecessary, they are unwanted, in fact. They are petty. They are there for a long time, and we are attached to them. So many things in my room and house, I'm attached to them, and I can't take it with me. But what I can take with me, that is the positive side. It is who I really am, a servant of Krishna. And that is wonderful. Text 18. That, you have prayed to me and properly worshipped me by performing the great Payavrata ceremony for the sake of protecting your sons. Because of Kashyapa Muni's austerities, I shall agree to become your son and thus protect your other sons. So we have here that point. Because you follow the order of the Guru, because of the Guru, then that's the reason the Lord gives that what he agrees to do. Then that makes him agree to do it. Text 19. Always thinking of me as being situated within the body of your husband, Kashyapa, go worship your husband, who has been purified by austerities. O lady, even if someone inquires, you should not disclose this fact to anyone. That which is very confidential, successful if kept secret. So the Lord is saying, do not disclose this fact. Which fact? That he agreed to become her son, to protect her sons. What is he going to do? He's going to regain the kingdom. And what happens? Vamandev is going into the assembly of Bali and do some begging. So he's saying, don't tell what I'm really going to do. But this is just giving a general principle here. It's a particular point of diplomacy, we can say. If you want to have all your plans ruined, tell them to your enemy. So don't do that. That's the point. 21. Sukadev Goswami said, after speaking in this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead disappeared from that very spot. Aditi, having received the extremely valuable benediction that the Lord would appear as her son, considered herself very successful. With great devotion, she approached her husband. Yeah. So the Lord could have satisfied her desires in various ways, but when Krishna does something, he does it in his own way, a special way. That gets the mission, a way that gets somewhere or another the mission accomplished. He is the wise man situated in everyone's heart. He will do it in a way that serves many, many purposes at the same time. Not just the one purpose that we have in mind, which can be gross. So what is one of the other purposes? Remove the demons, reinstall the demigods. And he wants also to give some special mercy to Bali Maharaj. He actually wants to give himself to Bali Maharaj. And he does not want anyone in the way of this plan. That the Lord disappeared from that very spot. That doesn't mean that he's not there anymore. But he became unmanifest to the eyes of Aditi. Text 22. Being situated in a meditational trance, Kashyapa Muni, whose vision is never mistaken, could see that plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that a plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead had entered within him. That plenary means complete or full. This plenary part does not diminish the Supreme Lord at all, and in addition, his part is equal to the Supreme Lord. That is the Asintya Sakti of the Lord. It's not material. So Kashyapa Muni understood the Lord that entered within him. Text 23. O King, as the wind promotes friction between two pieces of wood and thus give rise to fire, Kashyapa Muni, whose transcendental position was fully absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, transferred his potency into the womb of Aditi. Purport. This text 23. So before we will go to the purport of 24 soon, but here it is said he transferred his potency to the womb of Aditi. So this was not an ordinary sexual activity. The Lord was in the heart of Kashyapa Muni. 24. When Lord Brahma understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was now within the womb of Aditi, he began to offer prayers to the Lord by reciting transcendental names. Lord Brahma is praying. So, the purport, the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists everywhere. Andantara sta paramanu sayantara stam. Therefore, when it chants its transcendental names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, the Supreme Personality of God is automatically pleased by such Sankirtan. That is pleased by the sincere calling of the devotee for him. It is not that the Supreme Personality of God is absent. He's present there. So we read the last part of the purport. Yeah. Of the purport is present there. And when the devotee utters the transcendental name, it is not material sound. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of God is naturally pleased. A devotee knows that the Lord is present everywhere and that one can please him simply by chanting his names. So Srila Prabhupada makes this point. When we chant, we should know that Krishna is there. Should sincerely try to please him. And then the potency of the transcendental song will be effective. Text 25. Lord Brahma said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glory is unto you. You are glorified by all and whose activities are all uncommon. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, O Lord of the Transcendentalist Controller of the three modes of nature. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you again and again. So there is a hint here. You will perform an activity, and that is not a usual activity. In fact, you are incapable of performing a usual activity because usual activities are controlled by the modes of nature. And you are the controller of the modes of nature. So you must going to perform something special and uncommon. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, O Lord of the Transcendentalist, controller of the three modes of material nature. So by saying that is the controller of the three modes of material nature is hinting that your appearance is different from any other person's appearance because they are under the control of the modes of nature. But your appearance is for a different purpose. We are forced to come to this world, but you are not forced to come. You come to do something uncommon and special. So I want to watch this, Rama says. I want to see the wonderful thing you are going to do. Now we have text 26. Now Rama offers more obeisance because his position is insignificant compared to the Lord. 26. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, the all-pervading Lord Vishnu. You have entered the course of the hearts of all living entities. All the three worlds reside within your navel, and yet you are above the three worlds. Formerly, you appeared as the son of Vishnu. To you, the Supreme Creator, who are understood only through Vedic knowledge, I offer my respectful obeisances. So Brahma says, last time you came, you were the son of Vishnu to give Dhruva a special benediction. But now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Text 27. O my Lord, you are the beginning, the manifestation, and the ultimate dissolution of the three worlds. You are celebrated in the Vedas and the reservoir of unlimited potencies, the Supreme Person. O my Lord, as waves attract branches and leaves that have fallen into the deep water. So, you are the Supreme Eternal Time Factor and attract everything in this universe. So although he has all these qualities, and now this wonderful person who has all these qualities has come. That text 28. My Lord, you are the original generator of all living entities, stationary or moving. And you are also the generator of the Prajapatis. Oh my Lord, as a boat is the only hope for a person drowning in the water, you are the only shelter for the demigods who are now bereft of their heavenly position. So it seems Lord Brahma knows the purpose of the Lord's coming. And in the next chapter, we will hear the appearance of the Lord. So the next chapter, 18, Lord Vamandev, the dwarf incarnation. And we'll continue with that at 5:05. It's 5 to 5 now. So we have a pause of 10 minutes to 5:05. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna. So, Aditi has performed these austerities and these vows, Payavrata, process of worship. And the Lord is pleased. But it's not pleased because Aditi did follow the vows. He was pleased because Aditi followed very strictly the instructions of our spiritual master, our husband, Kashyapa Muni. So if we are performing devotional service and the Lord is pleased, it's not technically by our service. He is pleased because we follow the instruction of the spiritual master. That makes it successful. So that's an important principle. We can remember from the previous chapter. Now, the Lord has just promised that he's going to appear. And Brahma had just offered some prayers. Sukadev Goswami knows what's going to happen, and therefore he speaks the following verse. Sukadev Goswami said, after Lord Brahma had spoken, glorifying the Supreme Lord's activities and prowess, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was never subject to death like an ordinary living being, appeared from the womb of Aditi. His 4 hands were decorated with a conch shell, that lotus and disc. He was dressed in yellow garments, and his eyes appeared like the petals of a blooming lotus. So he's never subject to death. So he's a person, but not like us, although he appeared from the womb of Aditi. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the point that Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance and activities are extraordinary. And just by knowing Krishna's activities, then one has not to see birth and death again. Shalma karma samedikam yomi veti tatvata chaktvayam punarma naitimameti sarana. Text 2. The body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, blackish in complexion, was free from all inebriety. His lotus feet, decorated with earrings resembling sharks, appeared very beautiful. And on his bosom was the mark of Shivatsa. He wore bangles on his wrists, armlets on his arms, a helmet on his head, a belt on his waist, a sacred thread across his chest, and ankle bells decorating his lotus feet. So what is it exactly, what's the meaning of inebrieties? That you would say in the dictionary, drunkenness, especially habitual intoxication. So there's a difference between sober and intoxicated. So there was no touch of material nature, no inebriety, no illusion of folds. And the Srivatsa, the white hair representing the goddess of fortune, he was well decorated. He appeared fully dressed, decorated. That text 3. On the day of the text 3. No, I'm skipping some things. A few here. So I read text 2 again, then text 3. The body of a Supreme Personality of Godhead, blackish in complexion, was free from all inebrieties. His lotus face, decorated with earrings resembling sharks, appearing very beautiful, and on his bosom was the mark of Shivatsa. He wore bangles on his wrists, armlets on his arms, a helmet on his head, a belt on his waist, a sacred thread according to his chest, and ankle bells decorating his lotus feet, an uncommonly beautiful garland of flowers decorated his bosom, and because the flowers were extremely fragrant, a large group of bees, making their natural humming sounds, invaded them for honey. When the Lord appeared, wearing the Kaustubha gem on his neck, his effulgence vanquished the darkness in the home of Prajapati Daksha. So this is a great sweetness in the form of the Lord, and everything decorating the Lord. Text 4. At that time, there was happiness in all directions. In the reservoirs of water, like the rivers and oceans, and in the core of everyone's heart. The various seasons displayed their respective qualities, and all living entities in the upper planetary systems in outer space and on the surface of the earth were jubilant. The demigods, the cows, the Brahmins, and the hills and mountains were all filled with joy. On that day, Shravana Dvadasi, the 12th day of the bright fortnight in the moon of Bhadra, when the moon came into the lunar mansion Shravana, at the auspicious moment of Abhijit, the Lord appeared in this universe, considering the Lord's appearance very auspicious. All the stars and planets, from the sun to Saturn, were magnificently charitable. That, O King, when the Lord appeared on Vadasi, the 12th day of the moon, the sun was at the meridian. As every learned scholar knows, this Vadasi is called Vijay. Conch shells, kettle drums, panavas and anakas vibrated in concert. The sound of these and various other instruments was tumultuous. Being very pleased, the celestial dancing girls, Apsaras, danced in jubilation. The best of the Gandharvas sang songs, and the great sages, demigods, Manos, Pitas, and fire gods offered prayers to satisfy the Lord. So, text 9 and 10, now, which we will hear, they describe beings, higher beings than human beings. The Siddhas, the Vidyadharas, the Kimpurusas, the Kinnaras, the Charanas, the Yakshas, the Rakshasas, the Suparnas, the best of serpents, and the followers of the demigods all showered flowers on Aditi's residence, covering the entire house while glorifying and praising the Lord and dancing. When Aditi saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had appeared from her womb, having accepted a transcendental body by his own spiritual potency, she was struck with wonder and was very happy. Upon seeing the child Prajapati Kashyapa, and exclaimed, Jai, Jai, in great happiness and wonder. The Lord appeared in his original form, with ornaments and weapons in his hands, although this ever-existing form is not visible in the material world. He nonetheless appeared in this form. Then, in the presence of his father and mother, he assumed the form of Vaman, a Brahman dwarf, a brahmachari, just like a theatrical actor. So, we will read the purport. The word nata is significant. An actor changes dress to play different parts, but is always the same man. Similarly, as described in the Brahma Samhita, the Lord assumes many thousands and millions of forms. Remember, I always say that we are getting close to the 10th canto, where Krishna is coming in his Samyam Rupa, his most beautiful form. If we read this purport, considering that it is talking about Krishna, that Krishna's form is going to appear, we get used to that Krishna is appearing in a human-like form as Vamandev here. But soon Krishna is going to appear with his full personality, manifesting Vamandev as a Lila avatar, a pastime incarnation, performing a specific pastime. But Krishna's form manifests the entirety of fall, blossoming fully, is manifesting the entirety of a full blossoming, fully integrated person. The full manifestation of Bhagavan. All the other cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam prepare us for Krishna's appearance. All the other, when we need to read this so that we can keep in mind that it is, when we read this, we should keep in mind it's also relevant to Krishna. So the Lord assumes many thousands and millions of forms. Advaityam Asutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham is always with innumerable incarnations, Ramada Murtsika Kalanyamena Tishtam Nanavadaramakaru Bhuvanesha Kintu. Nonetheless, although he appears in various incarnations, they are not different from one another. He's the same person with the same potency, the same eternity, and the same spiritual existence, but he can simultaneously assume various forms. When Vamandev appeared from the womb of his mother, he appeared in the form of Narayan with 4 hands equipped with the necessary symbolic weapons, and then immediately transformed himself into a brahmachari, Vatu. This means that his body is not material. One who thinks that the Supreme Lord assumes a material body is not intelligence. He has to learn more about the Lord's position. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Janmakamas Medivam Yomivit Tattva. One has to understand the transcendental appearance of the Lord in his transcendental body. Sat Chit Ananda Viha. So the Mayavadis, they say that the absolute truth is formless. The word incarnate is a Christian word. It means it comes from God, and God takes on a flesh form. And there is no other translation for the word avatar available. But the Mayavadis, they say when the absolute truth incarnates, it goes actually in flesh. They say Brahman, influenced by the modes of goodness, that is incarnating. Is Brahman influenced by passion and ignorance? If Brahman is influenced by goodness, it becomes an incarnation. And if Brahman is influenced by passion and ignorance, it's a jiva. That is Mayavadi philosophy. And that the Lord is forced to take on a material body, they say. And everything that he does is in the material world. So they say that even if God comes to the material world, he's forced to have a material body situated in material nature. And therefore, all his pastimes, activities, and devotion and service are in the realm of Maya. And therefore, they are called Mayavadis, the followers of the path of Maya. They say that ultimately the Supreme Lord is impersonal. They think that ultimately they say that less intelligent people need these forms, the deity form. But ultimately you will find out that you are God yourself, Tat from Asi, you are that all-pervading substance. So we don't like this Mayavadi philosophy. It ruins any chance of devotion. It is like using devotion as a ladder, and when you get at the top of the wall, then you get at the other side. Then what do with the ladder? Kick it over. We don't need it anymore. Before I was worshipping the deity, but actually I want to become the deity. So it's like, oh, my dear boss in the factory, I'm doing everything exactly as you say, so that I can become the boss. That type of ambition is not appreciated. So then we'll go to text 13. And no purpose, we will read, or small purpose, but we will read them all. 13, when the great sages saw the lotus, the brahmachari, dwarf, Vaman, they were certainly very pleased. They placed before them Kashyapa Muni, the Prajapati, and performed all the ritualistic ceremonies, such as the birthday ceremony. According to Vedic civilization, when a child is born in the family of a Brahmin, the birthday ceremony, known as Jata Karma, is first performed, and then other ceremonies are also gladly performed. But when this Vaman Rupa appeared in the form of a Vatu, a brahmachari, his sacred thread ceremony was also performed immediately. At the sacred thread ceremony of Vamandev, the sun god personally uttered the Gayatri mantra, and Brihaspati offered the sacred thread, and Kashyapa Muni offered a straw belt. Mother Earth gave him a deerskin, and the demigod of the moon, who is the king of the forest, gave him a Brahma Danda, the rod of a brahmachari. His mother Aditi gave him cloth for underwear, and the deity presiding over the heavenly kingdom offered him an umbrella. O king, Lord Brahma offered a water pot to the inexhaustible Supreme Personality of Godhead. The 7 sages offered him kusagas, and Mother Saraswati gave him a string of Rudraksha beads. When Vamandev had thus been given the sacred thread, Kuvera, king of the Yakshas, gave him a pot for begging alms. And Mother Bhagavati, the wife of Lord Shiva and most chaste mother of the entire universe, gave him his first alms. Having thus been welcomed by everyone, Lord Vamandev, the best of the brahmacharis, exhibited his Brahman effulgence. Thus he surpassed the beauty of that entire assembly, which was filled with great saintly Brahmins. So he possesses unlimited power and started to exhibit his Brahman effulgence. Inconceivable, unlimited power. And we will see that in this pastime text, how we manifest this power. After Lord Sri Vamandev set a sacrificial fire, he offered worship and performed a fire sacrifice on the sacrificial field. When the Lord heard that Bali Maharaj was performing Ashvamedha sacrifices under the patronage of Brahmins belonging to the Briho dynasty, the Supreme Lord, who is full in every respect, proceeded there to show his mercy to Bali Maharaj. By his weight, he pushed down the earth by every step. So Bali Maharaj wanted to perform 100 Ashvamedha sacrifices. But the Lord is unlimitedly powerful, and he's going to the sacrificial arena of Bali just at the time in the process, because he's performing, Bali Maharaj is performing this Ashvamedha Yajna, and at a certain time in the procedure of the Ashvamedha Yajna, charity has to be given to the Brahmins. And at that time, just Bali Maharaj appeared, at that time that normally charity is given. And he's going not to beg. It's that is going to give mercy to Bali Maharaj, really. Although he appeared as a beggar. That text 21. Yeah. While engaged in performing the sacrifice in the field known as Brihukatya on the northern bank of the Narmada River, the Brahminical priest, the sons of Brihu, saw Vamandev to be like the sun rising nearby. O king, because of Vamandev's bright effulgence, the priest, along with Bala Maharaj and all the members of the assembly, were robbed of their splendor. Thus they began to ask one another whether the sun god himself, Sanat Kumar, or the fire god, has personally come to see the sacrificial ceremony. So after being benedicted by the demigods, Vamandev is going to accomplish his mission. Even being a dwarf brahmachari, is unlimitedly powerful. So he's walking, pushing down the earth by his step. Now he will walk to the sacrificial arena. We will see him approach it from that point of view. He's walking to the sacrificial arena. And we see here how Vamandev's bright effulgence. Yeah. If you can take a candle in a dark room, the candle appears to be very bright, but when you put it in the sun, it appears to lose its effulgence. Obviously, it doesn't lose anything, but compared to the sun, it loses its significance. It's like a glowworm gives light in the night, but during the day it's practically invisible. That's so. By its effulgence, everyone else who had also potency appeared insignificant. So the priest the priest, along with Bali Maharaj, were robbed of their splendor. How brilliant was his effulgence, according to this description. Text 23. While the priests of the Brihu dynasty and their disciples talked and argued in various ways, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vamandev, holding in his hands the rod, the umbrella, and a water pot full of water, entered the arena of the Ashvamedha sacrifice. 24-25. Appearing as a Brahman boy, wearing a belt of straw, a sacred thread, an upper garment of deerskin, and matted locks of hair, Lord Vamandev entered the arena of sacrifice. His brilliant effulgence diminished the brilliance of all the priests and their disciples, who thus stood from their seats and welcomed the Lord properly by offering obeisances. Bali Maharaj, jubilant at seeing Lord Vamandev, whose beautiful limbs contributed equally to the beauty of his entire body, offered him a seat with great satisfaction. Thus, offering a proper reception to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always beautiful to the liberated souls, Bali Maharaj worshipped him while washing his lotus feet. Lord Shiva, the best of the demigods, who carries on his forehead the emblem of the moon, receives on his head with great devotion the Ganges water emanating from the toe of Vishnu. Being aware of religious principles, Bali Maharaj knew this. Consequently, following in the footsteps of Lord Shiva, also placed on his head the water that had washed the Lord's lotus feet. So after washing Vamandev's feet, Bali Maharaj, and he understood these principles, he took the water and placed it on his head. Bali Maharaj later will become a Mahajan, one of the 12 Mahajan. Mahajan means one who follows other Mahajans. So it is, we read the purport of 28. Similarly, Bali Maharaj also later became a Mahajana force order Mahajans. By following the Parampara system of Mahajana activities, one can become advanced in spiritual consciousness. The water of the Ganges is washed the lotus feet of Vamandev, and the water with which he did so became equal to the Ganges. Bali Maharaj, who perfectly knew all religious principles, therefore took that water on his head, following in the footsteps of Lord Shiva. Text 29. Bali Maharaj then said to Lord Vamandev, O Brahman, I offer you my hearty welcome and my respectful obeisance. Please let us know what we may do for you. We think of you as the personified austerity of the great Brahmin sages. Because the Lord was so effulgent, they understood that he was extremely special and that he performed austerities. Text 30. O my Lord, because you have kindly arrived at our home, all my forefathers are satisfied, our family and the entire dynasty have been sanctified, and the sacrifice we are performing is now complete because of your presence. Text 31. O son of a Brahman, today the fire of sacrifice is ablaze according to the injunctions of the Shastra, and I've been freed from all sinful reactions of my life by the water that have washed your lotus feet. O my Lord, by the touch of your small lotus feet, the entire surface of the world has been sanctified. So this is actually the power of a sage. What to speak of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Bali Maharaj is performing a karma kandiya sacrifice. A Vedic sacrifice meant to elevate one on the material level. The purpose of this is, after many steps, is to be in the presence of the Lord. As an intermediate step, as one's piety and knowledge increases, is coming in contact with a devotee. Therefore, he says that he seems to be unaware, but he is not aware that it is the Lord himself. He thinks that the sacrifice is successful as the saintly devotees and the Lord is present, which is the purpose of the sacrifice. It is the fruit of all piety to associate with exalted persons. Ultimate association of saintly persons is that one gets bhakti. Last verse. Son of a Brahman, it appears that you have come here to ask me for something. Therefore, whatever you want, you may take from me. O best of those who are worshipable, you may take from me a cow, a gold, a furnished house, palatable food and drink, the daughter of a Brahman for your wife, prosperous villages, horses, elephants, chariots, and whatever you desire. So now we have come to chapter 19. That Sukadev Goswami continued. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vamandev heard Bali Maharaj speaking in this pleasing way, Vamandev heard Bali Maharaj, when he heard Bali Maharaj speaking in this pleasing way, he was very satisfied, for Bali Maharaj had spoken in terms of religious principle. Thus the Lord began to praise him. Text 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vajastvavacha Janadeva Sunritam Kalochitam Dharma Yutam Yasaskaram Yasya Pramanam Vigava Samparaye Pitam Hakula Vrida Prashanta. That. So, translation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O King, you are indeed exalted because your present advisors are the Brahmins, who are descendants of Brihu, and because your instructor for your future life is your grandfather, the peaceful and venerable Prahlad Maharaj. Your statements are very true, and they completely agree with religious etiquette. They are in keeping with the behavior of your family, and they enhance your reputation. Yeah. So we have heard the request of Bali Maharaj. He's saying, you please take something in charity. So Bali Maharaj was born in the family of Prahlad Maharaj, although it is a demoniac Ashoik family. As one sandalwood tree makes an entire forest fragrant, Prahlad Maharaj made the entire family of Titi glorious. So it's going to flatter Bali Maharaj because Bali Maharaj has said, I will give you whatever you desire. He made that promise, and that will be crucial here. He made that promise. And he will fix Bali Maharaj in giving him whatever he wants, because Vamandev has his plan in that, because he wants to take everything from him. He does not want a horse, not a wife, not a village. He wants everything. At one level, he wants to restore the dominion over the heavenly planets by the demigods, and at another level, he wants to take everything from him, because he wants Bali Maharaj to give himself to him fully and surrender. So we read the purport. Prahlad Maharaj is a vivid example of a pure devotee. So one might argue that since Prahlad Maharaj, even though very old, was attached to his family and specifically to his grandson Bali Maharaj, how could he be an ideal example? Therefore, this verse uses the word prashanta. A devotee is always sober, is never disturbed by any conditions, even if a devotee remains in Grihastha life and does not renounce material possessions. He should still be understood to be prashanta, sober, because of his pure devotion to the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore said, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyas Sutra Kenanoi, Ye Krishna Tattva Veda Serguru Hoi. Whether one is a Brahmin, a sannyasi, or a Sudra, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the signs of Krishna. Although completely aware of the signs of Krishna, regardless of his status in life, he is a guru. Thus Prahlad Maharaj is guru in all circumstances. Here, his lordship, Vamandev, also teaches sannyasis and brahmacharis that one should not ask more than necessary. He wanted only 3 pieces of land. And although Bali Maharaj wanted to give him anything he wanted. So, brahmachari should not ask more than necessary. I think that was our question, which we did from the previous chapter. In one of 2 sentences explain why one should only accept charity as much as one requires. So that point is brought up here again. So I know that even until now, that so we read the purport. So see, Vamandev, he wants only 3 pieces of land. Although Bali Maharaj wanted to give him everything he wanted. That text 3. I know that even until now, no one taking birth in your family has been poor-minded or miserly. No one has refused to give charity to the Brahmins, nor after promising to give charity has anyone failed to fulfill his promise. So that's an important verse. Vamandev will test Bali Maharaj because he has made that promise, I will give you everything you want. So he will test Bali Maharaj to make sure that he keeps his promise. As he said that he will give him everything. So he's setting up in a sense, everything for this point, and that will be stressed. You made your promise, you must fulfill your promise. No one in your family has ever refused to fulfill their promise and to give charity. That's text 4. We hear that in text 4 here. O Bali, O King Bali, never in your dynasty has the low-minded king been born, who upon being requested has refused charity of to Brahmins in the holy places, or a fight to Kshatriyas on a battlefield. And your dynasty is even more glorious due to the person of Prahlad Maharaj, who is like the beautiful moon in the sky. So that's a quality of a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya must have a very charitable disposition. It's chivalrous and charitable at the same time. That if he says, I will give you this in charity, then he will give you this, then he will give you this in charity when he says that. He needs to have the spirit to be actually a ruler. If he says, I will protect you, then he will do everything, if it means even losing his own life. So this type of determination, spirit is required to be able to rule. That now, Vamandev will give an example. It was in your dynasty that Hiranyaksha was born, carrying only his own club. He wandered the globe alone, without assistance to conquer all directions, and no hero he met could rival him. So this Hiranyaksha, he had such a warrior mood. He had just the same warrior mood as you have, Vamandev is saying. Text 6. When delivering the earth from the Garbhodaka sea, Lord Vishnu, in his incarnation as a boar, killed Hiranyaksha, who had appeared before him. The fight was severe, and the Lord killed Hiranyaksha with great difficulty. Later, as the Lord thought about the uncommon prowess of Hiranyaksha, he felt himself victorious indeed. So he's glorifying Bali's forefathers. He's saying, how glorious is your forefather. He was so glorious that the Lord, when he killed him, accepted him as a warrior. So on one hand, he was glorifying him, on the other side, he was criticizing him because he was fighting with God, Vishnu. When Hiranyaksha heard the news of his brothers being killed, with great anger, he went to the residence of Vishnu, the killer of his brother, wanting to kill Lord Vishnu. Seeing Hiranyaksha coming forward, bearing a trident in his hand, like personified death, Lord Vishnu, the best of all mystics and the knower of the progress of time, taught as follows. Wherever I go, Hiranyaksha will follow me, as death follows all living entities. Therefore, it's better for me to enter the core of his heart, for then, because of his powers, to see only externally. he will not see me. So the Lord is in our heart, all our hearts, but we see only externally, and we don't see him. Text 10. Lord Vamandev continued, O king of the demons, after Lord Vishnu made this decision, he entered the body of his enemy Hiranyakasipu, who was running after him with great force in a subtle body, inconceivable to Hiranyakasipu. Lord Vishnu, who was in great anxiety, entered Hiranyakasipu's nostrils along with his breath. Upon seeing that the residence of Lord Vishnu was vacant, Hiranyakasipu began searching for Lord Vishnu everywhere. Angry at not seeing him, Hiranyakasipu screamed loudly and searched the entire universe, including the surface of the earth, the higher planetary systems, all directions, and all the caves and oceans. But Hiranyakasipu, the greatest hero, did not see Vishnu anywhere. It's interesting how Lord Vamandev, in what way he is glorifying his forefathers. But because Hiranyakasipu was an atheist, he thought of Lord Vishnu dead. And Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport, what to speak of Vishnu being able to die, an ordinary jiva, a soul cannot die. But he was an atheist whose anger of Lord Vishnu persisted. Your forefather was so great and so determined, he said. His anger to Lord Vishnu persisted until his death. Other people in the body concept of life maintain angry only because of false ego. That's interesting. That 12. Hiranyakasipu's anger against Lord Vishnu persisted until his death. Yeah. So in the purport it is said here, generally speaking, even though the conditioned soul is angry, his anger is not perpetual but temporary. It is due to the influence of ignorance. Hiranyakasipu, however, maintained his enmity and his anger against Lord Vishnu until the point of death. He never forgot his vengeful attitude toward Vishnu for having killed his brother, Hiranyaksha. Others in the body conception of life are angry at their enemies, but at Lord Vishnu, Hiranyakasipu, however, was everlastingly angry. He was angry not only because of false prestige, but also because of continuous enmity toward Vishnu. So that Hiranyakasipu thought he had a competitor in Vishnu. That was partially the cause of his enmity. So he is glorifying the members of Prahlad's dynasty, but actually is criticizing their enmity with the Lord at the same time. And here the Lord himself is standing before him. Now next we will hear about Bala Maharaj's own father, Virochan. Your father Virochan, the son of Prahlad Maharaj, was very affectionate toward Brahmins, although he knew very well that it was the demigods who had come to him in the dress of Brahmins. At their request, he delivered to them the duration of his life. Purport. Such. Maharaj Virochan, Bali's father, was so pleased with the Brahmin community that even though he knew that those approaching him for charity were the demigods in the dress of Brahmins, he nonetheless agreed to give it. So he's saying your forefathers never refused charity. So you have to maintain the fame of your dynasty. So he's setting forward a high standard of charity and nobility. Text 15. You also have observed the principles followed by great personalities who are householder Brahmins. by your forefathers and by great heroes who are extremely famous for their exalted activities. That so yes, that he's setting forward this high standard of nobility and charity. So Vamandev had said that he appreciates the offer of Bali Maharaj because his family is known as being great givers of charity. And once having said that, they will give charity. They will keep their promise. Your father Virochan gave charity up to giving the remainder of his life. This is what character and integrity means. It means to be true to one's principles. So it is good to be true to one's principles. So he's stressing this because he wants to take everything from him. That, and now text 16. O King of the Daityas, from your majesty, who come from such a noble family, who are able to give charity magnificently, I only ask 3 paces of land to the measurement of my steps. That's a detail, but an important detail. So he wanted the 3 paces of land to the measurement of his footsteps. He did not want more than necessary, but although he presented to be an ordinary human child, he actually wanted the land compromising the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. This was just to show the prowess of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is 17. O King, controller of the entire universe, although you are very magnificent and are able to give me as much land as I want, I do not want anything from you that is unnecessary. Again, that point. That if a learned Brahmin takes charity from others only according to his needs, that he does not become entangled in his sinful activities. That so it is said, the purport, a Brahmin or sannyasi is qualified to ask charity from others, but if he takes more than necessary, he is punishable. No one should use more of the Supreme Lord's property than necessary. Lord Vamandev indirectly indicated that Bali Maharaj that he was occupying more land than he needed. In the material world, all these stresses are due to extravagance. One acquires money extravagantly and also spends it extravagantly. Such activities are sinful. That so taking more than one needs to keep the body and mind together is what modern society is based on, to accumulate wealth as much as possible, and then to spend as much as possible for sense enjoyment, extravagance in accumulating and spending. So all property belongs to the Supreme Lord, and all living entities, all living beings who are sons of the Supreme Lord have the right to use the Supreme Father's property, but cannot take more than necessary. So also Sri Upanishad speaks on this point extensively. So this principle should especially be followed by Brahmins and sannyasis who live at the cost of others. Thus Vamandev was an ideal beggar, for he asked only 3 paces of land. Of course, there is a difference between his footsteps and those of an ordinary human being. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable prowess, can occupy the entire universe, including the upper, lower, and middle planetary systems, by the unlimited measure of his footsteps. That there is also a verse in the the 11th canto in Uddhava Gita, where Lord Krishna instructs Uddhava about the varnas and the ashrams. And there he speaks about the brahmachari, the principle that the brahmachari should not keep food for later, should not store food. And at that time, must have been 2009 or something, Mother Narayani was presenting the Bhaktivedanta course, and she was presenting that, she read just that verse that a brahmachari should not keep any food for later. And we were at the Goshala in Vrindavan, and we were in a classroom, and it was sunny, and the door was open. And in front of Narayani, there was sitting a brahmachari with a low desk. And on the desk was the Bhagavatam. And on his desk, there was a tiffin with a banana on top. And Mother Narayani had just read this verse. And a monkey came into the classroom and took this banana away and ran away. That was interesting in Vrindavan, in the holy dhams, that you can have this special experience directly, the Shastra in practice. That so we went to a lot of lila, mainly today. And tomorrow, on Monday, we will continue with this chapter 19. And then we will learn important lessons. Then we will go slower to the verses, because many important principles about surrender are explained by Srila Prabhupada in this purpose. So we will continue here with text 18 on Monday. And now we will look first in the chat what's there. If one takes more than one needs, charity, he becomes entangled in sinful activities. Yeah, everything in this world, that if you take more than you need, and it's only for not to serve the Lord, then you get reactions. The law of karma acts. Naturally, that is like that, yes. And then one should only accept charity as much as one requires, so he does not use more of the Lord's property than necessary. One should learn to be satisfied with only the necessities and use his time for self-realization instead of sense gratification. Yes, that's the principle. So are there any further questions? Please raise your hand. So what do you think are the most important principles we learned in these two chapters that Aditi performing this Payavrata process of worship, pleasing the Lord but having material desires, that the Lord appears, but he appears on the strength of the austerities of Kashyapa Muni, and because Aditi followed his instructions nicely. And that's an important principle. Srila Prabhupada said always, whatever I accomplish is the mercy of my Guru. He never said it's my mercy. And the Lord confirms that here is the mercy of the spiritual master that you get when that's followed by the mercy of the Lord. So, any further points? You can also share what you feel was most significant in these chapters. What touched your heart? And why? So.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Ramakrishna Prabhu.
The lessons that I could actually meditate upon is despite the best of the facilities and advantages that could be there even in the higher planets, still it is not free from desires, anxieties, and material distress. And here through these pages of these chapters, even though if one has such desires and anxieties, they could actually take the shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. In fact, all these lessons are giving us an examples of how to follow such exalted personalities who are in different locations within this universe, and how the Lord actually becomes appeared and he pleases them by his assurances and protection. And also the situation of Kashyapa Muni itself as the Prajapati. And in the previous chapter also, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that he was certainly a Jagat Guru because he served the purpose of the Lord by giving instructions to Aditi. And so these are some of very important lessons that I could actually focus upon, that one should always be under the shelter of the Lord and his representative.
Yeah, there's the importance of following the instructions of the spiritual master, that then we are not disqualified to perform devotional service because we have material desires. That just follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And by that we get the mercy of the Lord, because we follow these instructions. Yes. Yeah, Anand Gaur probably writes, one becomes extremely powerful if one is favored by the Brahmins, Vaishnavas, especially the spiritual master. Yes, that's a good lesson from this pastime. That is where the power comes from. But in this pastime, we will see that Pali Maharaj will reject the instructions of his spiritual master. And his spiritual master will curse him. He will say, you will lose everything. And he will lose everything. But he rejected his guru. Why? Because his guru gave him instructions against devotional service. He told Vamandev, the Shukracharya told Bali Maharaj, don't give anything to this dwarf. You will lose everything. You will lose everything. But he rejected, because that is an instruction against devotional service. That was a materialistic instruction, we will see. Because Shukracharya was afraid when Bali Maharaj gives everything to Vamandev, because he knew that Vamandev was Vishnu. Then I lose also everything because I'm dependent on King Bali. So it was materialistic reasoning. But still, Bali Maharaj was connected with Prahlad Maharaj. He followed the instructions of Prahlad Maharaj. We will see he will lose everything, but he will get, but Lord Vamandev will give him everything back. He will get Sutal with beautiful constructed residences by Vishvakarma, more opulent on the heavenly planets. Lord Vishnu will become his Jyotidhar, his storekeeper, and in his next life he will become Indra in the Nanga. So he will get everything he desired initially. But first he has to give everything. So that Nitai Madhav writes, one should accept only what is required and not accumulate. This is a good lesson for Grihasthas also. This is a principle, what is required for self. We take only what we really need. But we can accept unlimited wealth to be used in the service of the Lord. That Mother Hema Gopi, you want to say something? Your mic is on.
Maharaj, I wanted to understand the relationship between the followers of Brihu Muni and Bali Maharaj. It was Sukracharya who was actually saving Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj wanting to serve him is understandable, but it was actually the followers of Brihu Muni who were descendants of Brihu Muni who were doing all this yagya. So I was wondering, what is the relationship between all these people? Bali Maharaj, Sukracharya, Brihu Muni, how are they all?
I think we discussed that before. So the spiritual master of the demigod is Brihaspati, and Sukracharya, I think he's a disciple of Brihu Muni. So that is, but he was specialized in Karma Kandiya. So that's, we mentioned that before. I think we discussed that when we went through all the manas and so on. We came at their names. With which chapter was this that we discussed? I don't have that part of the Bhagavatam with me. What chapter was this when we, it was 14 or 13? 13, yeah. I mentioned that before. That,
I think it's chapter 13, Maharaj.
13, eh? Yes. Mm-hmm.
The beginning of chapter 13.
Yeah, where was Brihu Muni or mentioned? Mm-hmm. I remember I made this point that Find it here. But anyway, Bhrigu Muni, they were all sons of Brahma. That, I think there were 3 sons. Brihaspati, Bhrigu, was the 3rd one. Anyway, I don't remember it. But it was in my presentation. Okay. Good. Bhrigu is the father of Sukracharya, yes. That's correct. And Brihaspati was the spiritual master of the demigods. But Sukracharya was specialized in Karmakandya. That, of course, Sukracharya was not the only disciple of Bhrigu Muni. There were others, and they were also there, assisting Sukracharya. So Nadia Bihari, right? Mother Earth gave him a deer skin, and the demigod of the moon, who is the king of the forest, gave him his Brahmadanda, daughter of a brahmachari. His mother Aditi gave him cloth for underwear, and the presiding deity over the heavenly kingdom offered him an umbrella. Who is the deity presiding the heavenly kingdom? That it's Indra, the Svargaloka, that he's the ruler of heaven. He's the demigod of the moon, the same as the moon god, Chandra, should be, yes. We heard that the moon appeared from the Milk Ocean before, in the beginning of this chapter. Yes, but that's Chandra, the moon god, yes. Any other point? That, oh, Nitai Madhav Prabhu, you can speak, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dhanot Pranam Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, what was the source of the bhakti of Bali Maharaj?
The source of his devotion, that he got that by the blessings of Prahlad Maharaj. It's Kripa Siddhi. We discussed that before also. Kripa Siddhi. Just by the blessing of Prahlad Maharaj, he became also a pure devotee. And that's the power of the blessings of a pure devotee. We should not underestimate that these blessings are very powerful. That, so we have Srila Prabhupada. We do Guru Puja every morning. Can pray for his blessings. He has the power to do that. Good. Any other question? Then we will end here. Yeah, Srinivas Gopal writes, just a moment. Bali Maharaj became equal to Prahlad Maharaj. He became also a Mahājan. So they were both Mahājans, Bali Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. Of the 12 Mahājans, yes. They became equal in the sense he became also a pure devotee. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Looking forward. See you on Monday. Hare Bol.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Bol. Hare.